Hello and welcome to the August 13th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I am your host, Ephrom Josine. Now, I'd like to start by saying this show has been predicting a recession there's a fly. Another fly! I hate flies. But anyway, this series has been predicting a recession under the economy for a while now. Because if you look at the data and you look at what's been going on, especially in the news recently, you can tell it's almost the exact same as what led up to the savings and loans crash as well as the Great Recession. Well, apparently, the president may agree with me on that, but he may just not care. Because, this is from Raw Story, Trump administration cuts dozens of staff as financial market watchdogs. The Trump administration moved on Wednesday to drastically shrink the size of government agencies tasked with identifying looming financial risks, notifying around 40 staff members they would be laid off, according to a person familiar with the change. May I remind you, this is the president that already made the person in charge of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau someone who voted against the creation of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, so it is very obvious this president just doesn't care. He did the same thing with the EPA. The current head of the EPA, I forget his name, is a coal lobbyist, and before that we had Scott Pruitt, who sued the EPA a dozen times. The employees at the Office of Financial Research, OFR, were told on Wednesday they will lose their jobs as part of the board reorganization of the agency previously announced by the Trump administration, which is pledged to slash financial regulations. So essentially, he's getting people who can identify a recession out of there. But, okay. However, this president still has his fans, and you'll get to see one in a week from now, actually. Actually, it's close to 8 days from now, as Ann Coulter, who, if you do not know, is essentially the worst person ever. That's unfair. She's not the worst. She's the worst political commentator I've seen in a while. I'd say comedian-wise, which she tries to paint herself as somewhat of a satirist. She's up there with Jerry Seinfeld and Tim Allen level of awful comedy, which you need to work really hard to be. I don't very much like Jerry Seinfeld or Tim Allen, if you cannot tell. But she's releasing a new book called Resistance is Futile, How the Trump-Hating Left Lost Its Collective Mind. First off, I get why she called it that, but am I the one who thinks that sounds kind of cult-like? But okay, there is no full Amazon preview for the Kindle edition, and the preview that does currently exist doesn't include all in the intro. So I'm just going to read the description on Amazon. Since the day Donald Trump announced his presidential campaign, the left has waged an unhinged, hysterical war against him. That's kind of called being politically active, but okay. Now, with her trademark canter and wit, Ann Coulter defends Trump's policies in the face of liberal hypocrisy and exaggeration. Liberals used to pride themselves on their ultra-hipness. Actually, we prided ourselves on being correct. It had nothing to do with we're the hip people. That's like the weirdest version. That's almost the exact opposite of an appeal to authority fallacy. It's the one conservatives are currently using, despite the fact that they hold a majority in all three branches of government. And according to them themselves, are likely to keep it. And I think they may keep it, for the record. I think they're probably going to keep the Senate. They may lose the House, though. If only because the numbers are very much stacked against Democrats in the House, or in the Senate. In the House, it's a little different, because you're always up for re-election in the House. But with Ryan resigning, they're going to be in complete shambles anyway. I mean, Scalise will probably take over. Either Scalise, Nunes is also up there for speakers. If Jordan takes over, Jim Jordan, oh god. You might as well just say, we're the party that still supports Dennis Hartman. Wait, but with... sorry, Dennis Hastert. We're still the party that supports Dennis Hastert and Roy Moore. And we're the party of pedophilia and sexual assault. Essentially, you're admitting Every bad stereotype about you is true if you pick Jim Jordan. So I hope they pick Jim Jordan, is what I'm saying. Um, they mocked right-wingers for supposedly overreacting to headlines and believing in conspiracies. Oh no, all of their complaints were rational. We covered the other day how there's currently Muslim polygamy going on in the U.S. Sharia laws was instated. We have universal health care in the U.S. We essentially live under communism at this point, just like Ann Coulter predicted when Obama was elected. There are also no sexual taboos anymore because Bill Clinton got a blowjob in the Oval Office, which, Maya, reminds you, no politician ever did before him. There has never been any famous person. I'm sorry, it's just such a lowbrow to go to with people like this. They think everything Trump. Oh, wait. But as soon as candidate Trump emerged, 100% of the moral panic has come from the left. Al Franken, anyone? Like, seriously. Al Franken, like, he wasn't even screaming. If you look at the pictures, they're, like, standing, like, a good couple inches away. And then Roy Moore admits to sexually abusing children. Sexually abusing children. He's a pedophile. And the right's like, at least he won't raise my taxes. I mean, he probably will, but I can't read, so I don't care. You know? Or Stormy Daniels, anyone? How about that one? Where they were actually complaining the media was covering that. Remember that one? That was fun. The media does its job for once. How dare they? They think everything Trump does isn't merely wrong, it's a national crisis. No one actually has said that. Like, even the farthest left mainstream TV hosts haven't said that. I've given the president credit. I think he's typically right on immigration. While Trump governs mostly as a middle-of-the-road Republican, so-called resistant... Why did you both put so-called and put in quotes? Like, that's not even clever sarcasm. That's just, I'm not funny. That's essentially what you're screaming. I told the same joke twice. Laugh at me. Journalists, comedians, movie stars, pro athletes, Twitter pundits, and even the Pope and Lindsey Vonn. By the way, to whoever wrote that Amazon introduction, I assume it was Ann Coulter. You spelled Lindsay wrong. You spelled it with an A. It's supposed to have an E. Act as if they're all about to be marched to Duhas. I have no clue how to pronounce that. They are literally shaking because Trump is literally Hitler. Like, 8 people said that. Meanwhile, Trump obeys every unconstitutional limit placed on the presidential power by judges in Hawaii. He has submitted, however irritably, to hyper-politicized Supreme Council. He meets with Democratic Senators Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and Dianne Feinstein and shows them praise. It's right out of the Mein Kampf playbook. Oh my god. I hate this point. Why? First off, calling Chuck Schumer and Dianne Feinstein liberal is just a downright lie. Let's start with that. Like, how many progressive policies has Dianne Feinstein backed? I mean, she's a complete imbecile and immigrant. I forget if she's for sanctuary cities or not. Oh, she doesn't want to lock you up for life if you're caught smoking a plant. My god, she's basically the second coming of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But even then, people aren't allowed to still disagree with people who they... Do you want these people to vote for bills they disagree? Of course you do. Coulter reviews the various elements of the resistance, the Pussy Hat Brigade. Oh no, they're being symbolic. I'm scared. Oh, or was it a little too crude for you? I'm sorry, they were too vulgar, but remember, you're hip with the kids, Ann Coulter. And you're not being vulgar when... I'm assuming what she's saying, I'm sorry. I should just let Ann Coulter speak, because that usually does her in well enough. The Russia collusion witch hunt, haven't we caught like 30 people on accounts? That's a pretty good... There seem to be quite a few witches then. The media alarmists, the campus hysterica, hysteric. Bleh. I can't talk today. Frick. Now I'm worried I'm pronouncing it wrong, and that's why. So I gotta. This isn't wildly emotional, exaggerated reactions. That's what she said. That's what she said. And by the way, love the claim that the media is being hysterical. That's and more. They talk about Russia. They're the ones meddling with our democracy by trying to overturn the results of an election with relentless attacks and demented conspiracy theories. Freedom of speech overturns democracy now. The only permanent result of the Trump era may be our cultural institutions' total loss of credibility. Do I need to say anything? Anyway, that's it. I'm Ephrom, and good night.